Hello everybody, my name is Big Citrus and let's get into it. So, the ending of Stranger Things Season 4 has arrived. The last 2 episodes have dropped on Netflix and boy were they long. I can't remember the last time I've ever watched a 2.5 hour long episode of television, but hey, here we are. And honestly, I think this season was very good actually. I know a lot of people who are probably on like TikTok for like 48 hours every day are probably commenting, "You're just another one of those critics with a small dick who bitches about everything." And you know, part of that might be true, but no, I actually really love Stranger Things. Before this season dropped, I saw tons of people online saying, "I really do not care about a new Stranger Things," or "Wow, Stranger Things has really fallen off, who even cares about it anymore," which is very fucking funny. This new season has come out and Stranger Things is immediately the biggest thing in the world again. The power that this show has and the death grip it has on society is crazy. So yes, I have absolutely loved Stranger Things and I absolutely love Stranger Things Season 4. However, there's just one really big problem that is bringing the entire show and the entire experience down for me. And I know I'm not the only one who thinks this. I'm going to be comparing Stranger Things to one show in particular in this video. Usually with huge pop culture phenomenons like Stranger Things, there's always something that it is being compromised by, you know, shareholders, executives, blah, blah. So the vision that the creators want to meet with the show is never, you know, fully realized. Look what's happened to Star Wars with the new Obi-Wan show and The Mandalorian. They can't come up with anything new. It's entirely based off nostalgia and cheap pops from things that people loved when they were 10 years old. I don't love The Mandalorian, but I thought season 1 was actually pretty decent, and then season 2, they added Luke Skywalker, and I just didn't like it.
What is that? What is that? Wait.
And I think everyone knows what's wrong with the Star Wars sequels. They didn't want to commit to making anything actually new and just wanted people to have the exact same feeling they had when they were a child, where the good guy beats the bad guy. Stranger Things on its own is actually really not that original. It's kind of a love letter to 80s and 90s sci-fi, horror, and thriller, which I honestly think is one of the best things about it. It does craft its own unique story, even if it is directly, you know, ripped from a lot of other sci-fi and horror media. And season 4 was no exception. It was pretty good, and I liked it. And honestly, I would be willing to call season 4 the best season of Stranger Things, one of the best seasons of TV I've ever seen. It just has one really big problem. There are too many characters in this show. Now, here's the thing. You might be saying to yourself, well, I like all the characters in, you know, Stranger Things. I think even the characters that are meant to be hateable characters, like Jason in the new season, are written well. However, I just think that there is literally too much going on. A lot of people say season 1 is the best season of Stranger Things, and I don't personally agree. I think it is a very close second to season 3. Season 1 just felt like so much of a smaller scale, and there were just less characters. Remember Mr. Clark? He's like one of the most entertaining characters, and he didn't show up at all in season 4 because there probably just wasn't enough time for him. Also, on top of that, and what you could argue is basically the penultimate episode of the show, the massacre at Hawkins' lab, we learn who the real evil of the show is, and it was the first child ever experimented on by Dr. Brender. We learn about his origins and his relationship with Eleven, and there was just a lot of shit going down in that episode, and that episode was fire. That episode was really good. It might be the best episode of the whole show, for being honest. The characters of Jonathan, Will, Mike, and a new character, Argyle, because I guess we didn't have enough new characters, were not present in that episode at all. This is not going to be the only time in this video that I compare this show to Game of Thrones, so you know, get ready for that. But in Game of Thrones, we would be following multiple characters and their unique stories in unique separate locations, and they would ever so rarely coincide with one another. But the show had a good enough flow, at least in its earlier seasons, that we could balance these stories and balance these characters' arcs well enough, and we had enough screen time devoted to all of them to where they felt important. One thing I loved about the earlier seasons of Game of Thrones is that you could really argue that any of the characters you were watching were the main character. Like, yes, in season 1, Ned Stark is definitely the main character, but after that, you could say Jon's the main character, Daenerys is the main character, Tyrion's the main character. Stranger Things doesn't really do this. Like in season 1, like I said, it was a much smaller scale, so our main characters were basically just Mike and Eleven, and we had enough time to watch them as separate individuals and the relationship grow on screen to where we really cared about them. In season 4, what the fuck is Mike doing? I'm not saying that they have to be the main character of the show for like ever, but I'm just saying, how can you have a character be so important in season 1 and then in later seasons just not really matter at all? Same goes for Will. Will in season 1 and season 2 is like probably the most important character, and then seasons 3 and 4 he is a complete and total afterthought, which is really upsetting because Noah Schnapp absolutely kills it in the role. There's one thing that could alleviate my pain here, and that is killing some of the characters in the show more.
Look at this dude.
I did say it. No exception.
I know this isn't really a new opinion. Millie Bobby Brown herself has literally said that the show should be more like Game of Thrones. And I was honestly expecting in volume 2 in these last 2 episodes where the characters are actually trying to kill the, ultimate evil deity spirit Vecna, that more of them would die. We got the military trying to kill Eleven. We got Dr. Brenner trying to keep her and test on her. We got Max, who is already cursed, and they're trying to use her as bait. And like all of our other characters like Steve and Robin, Nancy, Dustin, and Eddie are going into the Upside Down to directly try and kill Vecna. There's just so much shit going on, and only one of the quote-unquote main characters out of like the 15 that there are die. And of course, he was a character that was introduced in this season, and I think Eddie's death was handled very well, but it was super obvious he was going to die because, I mean, they kind of need him to be dead because the entire town thinks that he's like an evil cult leader. And Max's fake out death is also handled incredibly well. You can really tell that Millie, Sadie, and Caleb have grown so much as actors, and they sell this scene for me so hard. Caleb McLaughlin especially. But Max doesn't die. Bitch literally gets her arms, legs, and fucking neck broken and her eyes turned into jello, yet she's just chilling because Eleven like touched her and said, nah bitch, you ain't dying today. But she's in like a coma, and I know this is all set up for season 5 and I shouldn't be complaining about it, but imagine how powerful it would have been if Max really did try and sacrifice herself and her plan failed and she died anyways. And now we have to live with the fact that the town of Hawkins got split like a banana. It's literally IRL transit from Black Ops 2, and on top of that, Max is dead. Everything's gone to shit. That would have been so powerful, but fuck me, I guess. There have been people who have said that Stranger Things has become too much of a good thing. I remember Cosmonaut Marcus released a video when season 3 dropped saying that it should have ended with season 1, which I disagree with. By the way, if anyone leaves me a comment telling me how much I sound like Marcus, I'm a freak the fuck out. I do not see it at all. I do not hear it. Season 3 is honestly just a lot of good fun, and I think it is really entertaining, and the story is just pure fan service, but in kind of the best way. The show definitely should have ended with this new season, though. I do not think there should have been a 5th season at all. Season 4 should have been the fucking end. We have so many characters to bounce and juggle around now, and it's like, what are we going to do with them? I'm gonna assume a lot of the side characters, just to tie up the loose ends, are going to die. And I like these characters. I really do. I think all the actors in this show do a fantastic job, and the writing in this show, even if it can be a bit corny and ham-fisted, is still pretty good. It just feels like the writers of this show introduce a new character that is interesting just to get rid of them. Take Billy, for example. Yes, he lasted around more than 1 season, but I honestly think that Billy was probably the most interesting character in the entire show, and his death was by far, in my opinion, the most impactful moment of the entire show. I remember watching the end of season 3 and being like, oh my god, they're killing Billy and Hopper, probably the 2 best characters in the show. At the same time, the balls on these writers. That was insane. And then Hopper comes back in this season as a Russian prisoner. I don't hate the scenes in Russia, but we already know that Hopper's gonna escape and somehow get back to Joyce and the gang. Like, we just knew it was gonna happen. So why did we need to drag it out for 9 excruciatingly long episodes? Why couldn't he have just stayed dead? And now Stranger Things has kind of written themselves into a corner, and I don't know, I might just be like talking this up for no reason. This might already be their plan for season 5, but holy shit, some of these motherfuckers need to stop dropping like flies. Look at this ending shot from season 4. There is literally too much shit going on. One thing I find it hilarious that the show does is while characters are talking, it'll constantly pan to reaction shots of a character who's also in the room, just so we don't forget that they're also there. They've introduced so many new characters season after season. It shocked me that the Duffer Brothers said they wish they didn't kill Chrissy because the character dynamic between her and Eddie was really sweet and they really liked it. Like, do y'all not already have enough characters like on your hands? Holy shit. I appreciate that they don't just kill characters for the sake of an impactful or intense moment like The Walking Dead started to do. I know that they're facing an insane grave danger, and yes, it probably should be more realistic. We got characters fucking trapped in Russian super prisons with demogorgons and shit, and we're going into shadow dimensions with gay baby bats trying to suck you off. Like, yes, more characters probably should be dropping like flies. However, this show is like a fantasy kids show. It's meant to be entertaining. And this show does fan service really well. I really liked a lot of the scenes with Nancy and Steve talking this season and actually rekindling their relationship. Hopper decapitating a demogorgon with a medieval sword was awesome. I didn't think that was gonna happen. That was fucking cool. The length of this season felt especially draining. There were so many times I was watching these episodes and I was like, holy shit, we got 40 minutes left. I'm not saying it was bad, but it just was too long. And they're stretching out these episodes so we have enough time with all these characters, when I really think it'd be more effective if there were less of them, given the fucking insane stakes of what is going on. I'm not saying every main character needs to die, but it needs to make sense. I was convinced that there was no way that Nancy, Steve, and Robin were all gonna make it out in their plan to actually try and kill Vecna, like his physical body, but no, all three of them were fine, and I was completely fucking flabbergasted by that. I know, they need these characters around to sell merch and shit and everything, and they killed Eddie because it tied up a loose end and was very convenient for the story, but in season 5, I don't need a scene with every single character explaining how they feel to one another, because there's just more important shit going on in the show that's more interesting. I really like how they used Dr. Brenner this season and reintroduced him, and it was really obvious that he wasn't going to make it throughout the whole season, and I'm happy that he did die, and his death was handled really well. So like I said, I appreciate the deaths that they are doing are handled very well, but at this point, I'm honestly getting more bothered that characters are alive, surviving shit that they literally should never be surviving, that it is reminding me of the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones. Remember the episode in season 7? Jon, the Hound, Tormund, Gendry, all the boys, they're all going to the fucking ice zombie kingdom. They're literally going beyond the wall to capture a White Walker to bring it back to Cersei. It's probably the worst episode of Game of Thrones, and it is completely ludicrous that none of them fucking die. Here's the thing, Stranger Things is a show that wants to be taken very seriously while also being entertaining sci-fi action schlock, and I really do appreciate that it tries to balance both of those things. But the convenience of this show is really fucking starting to get to me. Game of Thrones was at its best when it blended elements of fantasy with realism. We could see dragons, sex, betrayal of kings, blood and gore, but we could blend that with realism to make it something that was truly captivating, something that you've never seen before. It was at its worst when all it had was the fantasy and none of the realism. At that point, there's nothing to hold on to, there's no stakes to even worry about, you know everything's gonna work out, and you're just there to watch some dragons fly around and some swords to be clickety-clacked against one another. It's boring. And I think the exact same thing goes for Stranger Things. At its best, Stranger Things is a show that is a love letter to all horror and sci-fi, but it feels real. You can get immersed in this world, you can get immersed in these characters and the relationships. It feels like real people. It feels like the real world around you. And it feels like something that actually could have happened. But it transports you to a world with evil alien motherfuckers and evil shadow apothecant people who try and take over your mind and your butt. You watch the show and you're like, damn, that's the strangest thing I ever saw. I'm sorry. It's at its worst when you're watching 24 characters running around in like an evil dimension, just kind of like quipping jokes at each other, not really being too scared, not really worrying about things like it's a fucking Marvel movie. The season had some serious high points and some serious low points, but overall, it is still definitely some of the best television I've ever seen. The acting in this show is off the charts. The special effects and CGI looked a little worse in this season, but it was still pretty good. The cinematography and like the set design and like the lighting this season was really good. And of course, the character moments and the drama and the story were still pretty compelling. It only hurts me because if this show was willing to hurt its viewers more, really willing to give them a punch in the gut and kill some fan favorite characters and have a well-crafted death scenes for them and truly make you feel the despair like everything has gone to shit, because I mean, in the context of the show, everything has gone to shit, we could really be looking at Stranger Things even 15, 20 years from now as peak television, one of the all-time greats. Instead of just a Netflix pop culture phenomenon that was pretty good, better than most other shows. Nah, we could be looking at it as a masterpiece. Maybe when season 5 comes out one day, I'll do a review of like every Stranger Things episode or something and like rank all the seasons. But if I had to rank all the seasons right now, I'd say season 2 is the worst. Season 4 is probably the third best, worst, or is season 1? I don't know. Season 3 is the best though. You guys can figure it out. My final score for Stranger Things season 4 is an 8.5 out of 10. And hopefully they take my advice, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you want to see another video on another TV show like this, please go watch my video on Succession. I think you will really enjoy it. I had a lot of fun making it. I think it's one of the best videos I made on my channel, and if you haven't heard of Succession, just go watch it, and trust me, you'll be intrigued. And for those of you who are watching this, who you just watched like my Apex videos or something, don't worry, more Apex content is coming soon. I just wanted to try something a little bit new. And I don't know, maybe I'll talk more about Game of Thrones or Star Wars in a future video, wink wink. Click all my links in the description below, trust me, just do it. I've been Big Citrus, and have a damn good one.